All right, gang, it's 6 o'clock, and we promised to open our bids at 6 o'clock, so we have one bid, so we'll open it. Is this your bid?
If you only got one, it is.
Okay, it is.
Do you want an opener or something?
Yeah, let me see if I can pocket my phone. There's a key.
We got one.
Got a key, maybe. There we go.
We got
Got
that.
it, thank you.
You want me to read it, or?
I don't know, let's just wait for it. On this emergency medical services form, what does this mean? Does anybody know what the infield upgrade request is?
That is what allows us to go from BLS to ALS,
Perfect,
depending on each individual call.
perfect. That's a very nice letter from John. Chuck too.
How many pages are there to that bid? How many pages are there to the bid?
Oh, man. After they added theirs, it's probably twice as many as what we started with. So we may have been, what, 5 to 7, so they could be 10 to 15. questions?
Do you think that the lack of multiple bids was because of the time frame that we used?
I think so. It was a very short bid period and also a holiday. So we have, a lot of local support for this existing ambulance service, so that's very positive. Do you guys have any questions for us?
I don't think so.
Okay. Good. Everything looks very good, and I appreciate you submitting it. We will pass that along to the county board and see what they want to do.
Jonathan, can you announce our name to the camera right here so they
Yes.
know and the amount, so it'll be a public record?
Also, could I have a copy of this, or could you make copies of this bid? Several people,
I've been to several hundred weddings and nothing like this.
could you copy them up, Doug? I don't want to make a copy of this bid.
I can make a copy, yeah. With me.
Okay, for the record, we have received a bid from the Toledo Area Ambulance Service Incorporated for our RFP application. They've submitted a bid on 12/6/19, signed by the president, Robert Schweringen. Are you the president? Okay. And the amount of a 5-year program of $575,000, so each year is $115,000, is that correct? And how is that in relation to what it currently is?
That is an increase.
It is an increase. By how much?
Want me to do that?
Okay. Do you know roughly? I mean, it doesn't have to be
Not
exact.
double. It's
Yeah,
double.
it'd be about double.
Okay, that's done. All right, very good. Is that satisfactory on the report?
I've said I've been to several of them, but I never heard them never announce the prices and stuff. They always announce whose bid it is before they open it and all that. So I just wanted to publish record.
Okay, no problem, yeah.
Well, guys,
Well, I have a concern with only getting one proposal and.
How many were picked up?
Well, I think we sent out about 20, isn't that correct?
23, I think.
23?
23?
Yeah.
we picked ours up, right?
Yeah.
Did the Department of Health ever give you a list of?
No, they turned down both FOIA requests. I just got it yesterday. I just got it yesterday, so it's
So
3 weeks.
They turned it down.
You
Yeah.
got
they
two
just-
that came out.
We didn't ask right, so 21 actually got delivered apparently. So we did have some interest. I kind of expected it to go this way, but there were some guys that, seemed like they might have been interested. But, like we said, it seemed like a short period of time to ask. And that was because we were pushed because of the levy, which we had to submit something by the last Tuesday of the year?
Yeah.
So we were kind of under that pressure. But now that it's this way, I think we are released from that pressure. And also, will you guys be okay to operate to the end of August?
We'd have to discuss that with our attorney.
Okay. So, I mean, we do have that current contract in place, and so we aren't really under a time constraint. That was an artificial time constraint because of the nature of the government and the levy and so forth, so we do have some time. So there will be some things that will have to be discussed, whether we want to put it out again, or whether, we want to, encourage them to take this. I don't know what the county board's gonna wanna do. That's pretty much, how I see it. Anybody else have any things they wanna point out at this time?
When are we gonna, we're gonna discuss now what we
I think so.
wanna
I
move
think-
forward with the board,
We-
because
we-
I do have some concerns with only getting one bid and asking that the taxpayers, double.
Absolutely,
Exactly.
I have a real concern with that.
absolutely. And we do need to discuss that because we are not in any position to have to accept
Right,
this bid.
right.
And, but I'm very pleased that they did bid. Again,
Yes.
I'm very pleased. So, we do have several options. There's a lot of options, actually. We can resubmit the RFP, give them more time. We can improve our communication. And, you know, so there are some things that we kind of want to chew on and see how we want to proceed.
We went from, the money that we did get was for all volunteer. We paid nobody wages. And after 27 years, we run out of volunteers. And we had to start paying everybody. That's the reason, you know, if the county, or if everybody in the county worked for free, and then tomorrow, we're gonna have to get paid, you gotta up something, you know, or
Absolutely.
do a lot of cutting.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's the reason it's higher. We paid the head girl could get $70,000 in Mattoon or Effingham, 35,000 here.
Yeah, that's Michael.
Yeah, Michael, yeah. So,
Yeah.
your chances of getting, people come in here to do it for free is slim
Well,
to none.
and I never said do it for free.
I know, but it's, somebody at one that was the board meeting here was thinking we ought to be able to, that was their goal, but that's unrealistic. So. Ready. Well, thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, and good job on this. Thank you.
You get everything, ours, Floyd?
You too, good luck.
Got done? See you guys.
Steve's not done yet.
Huh?
My brother's not done.
Oh, we not done yet? I'm on the last few of the weekdays, hope to get it tomorrow.
About time, isn't it?
If nothing happens on the weekend, probably something will happen.
Yeah. Hey, Bob.
Congratulations on getting those beans out.
Well,
I'm rooting for you. Every bean field I see, I'm like, "Can you get the beans out?"
boy, they're soft. They got a lot of moisture. Now I've got to put them in the bin dry. Yeah, they.
Oh, I would.
Comfortable.
Oh, I would.
So, if you remember from our RFP, we have the.
Double the tax rate, right?
Right,
Now they go 50,000 taxes.
yeah.
50 or 60,
So by redoing it, where does that
This
leave?
year,
55.
the levy.
Then we go to 115.
Well, I just gotta say the same, but as you raise it 5%, the maximum is not gonna get down to,
So when it comes back up to the board, then they could decide, you're right, go ahead and raise it.
yeah, the maximum amount without doing, you know, the additional paperwork. Yeah. But this is something that you guys didn't know. This is what I was gonna start the meeting with, but since we had such a robust audience, I thought that we needed just to go to this. There was a meeting called by the ambulance company, and they had a lawyer here.
This,
Yeah, this ambulance company. And, yeah, the reason that you guys weren't notified is because we didn't want to get a quorum and then make it a meeting of our group. So that there was kind of a random group of people, you know, a county board member, the state's attorney, you know, several other people. And their concern was that they were owed another $50,000. And that would take them to their end of their contract, which is a contract that's been alive for 37 years, you know, so it's been informally renewed. Well, it turns out that they were paid in July and in September, is that correct, or July and August?
Actually, the first payment was in September. It was
September?
for taxes that were collected, 82 taxes collected in 83. Contract didn't start till September 1st, and then they were paid, after probably the first installment was received, they were paid in September. So they were paid ahead.
And so that would take us to the end of August, as I understood it. And so I think they were disappointed because they were hoping to get another 50,000 there. But what it did was it brought to everybody's attention that they're paid through the end of August.
Okay.
And so we don't have, we're not in a hurry, we're not, unless they go bust, they have a contract that they have to fulfill to the end of August.
So we really need numbers, I mean, we couldn't do anything on this without seeing some numbers, because,
Yeah, they don't,
I mean, how do they come up with $150,000 worth of credit? I wanna know how the money's gonna come out of this.
Well, I mean, the bank's taking that risk.
Is it the bank or somebody floating?
Tom Webb signed the paper,
Yeah.
didn't he?
That doesn't mean that, you know, somebody's not, I mean, you know, the story is that there's $60,000 in debt,
Yeah, yeah.
and then they're still gonna float another $150,000.
Well,
I mean, is the bank gonna stand good for this for the next
Said
5 years?
backed on their accounts receivables, I thought I saw.
Are they gonna do it for another
Yeah.
5 years?
This is another thing, this was our FOIA from them, and this will give you a lot of information, a lot of numbers, so why don't you dig into that?
it is the accounts receivable.
This may answer some questions. That's what Tom signed, with the
Yeah.
accounts receivable?
The,
Well, and just so that we know, these are coming out, and you put that on top of that, double that.
Oh, yeah. Percent change,
yeah,
24%.
Yeah, look at the second page,
Oh, 59%.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
well, it's
They've
appealing.
done nothing else.
That's appealing, that's appealing.
I'm just saying, I mean, are we gonna just tax everybody out of oblivion so they can't even live anymore?
Well,
Have you been through this?
yeah, but it was a long, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But it does have a lot of information that's useful to us, and I think that, that'll help us understand their numbers. But to address your concern, let's see who signed that.
Tom Webb signed it from the bank,
Okay.
and they pledged against the accounts receivable.
Accounts receivable.
In order to secure such a line of credit, First Neighbor would require the Toledo Emergency Service pledge its accounts receivable to secure the note. That's good.
So are they in debt, or are they not in debt?
Well, they did a really good job from year to year on that. They were a lot more in debt, and last number I remember, they were like 12,000, I don't know about in debt, but it went from 20,000 or so loss to 12,000 loss. So they have
Per
improved
year?
in the last 2 years. In the last 2 years. I may be able to find that, what I'm talking about, if I was on the phone.
No, that's all right. I mean, it'd take a while to decipher all this.
Well, there are some specific numbers that we might be able to grab. This is 2012. 15, 14, 15, 16. You can kind of look at these two and see the changes and compare them and see if that looks any different to you. One way or the other. And it's pretty much the same thing. If you want to make some copies of this, Bev, we could do that right now and study it later. This other one, we are not allowed to give out for some reason.
That's why I just want that bid sheet, final bid for today. Okay, and then,
To the Sunday, right?
I'll keep that on the list
Okay.
with it. How many copies would you like?
each of the board members probably want one before they
Right.
bring to the board, they'll all want one eventually.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then would they all want one also?
That's right. Do you guys
You
want
guys
one
all
to
want
make
one, you can
separately?
study this in your spare time. So four,
Mhm.
I do.
6 for the board, and, Aaron?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay.
I ain't made it through the last FOIA request I got. They give me 500 pages.
Oh, no.
I'm not kidding you, I only expected 50.
Yeah.
But my stack of papers was that thick.
Yeah, that's enough. I got one from the city of Mattoon on their pensions. I think it's the fire or the police pensions, and it was 300 pages.
I'm just gonna staple it there now.
That'll keep you reading for a little while.
Yeah, it's no fun whatsoever. Why would I do that to myself?
I made the mistake of asking for bank account statements. I didn't realize they had like 15 bank accounts.
For, oh, man, 15.
Well, I think what he's saying is,
It's the same thing.
this is 15, 16, and that's 16, 17.
Hey Floyd,
Yes, sir.
you tend to know a lot of people. Who is the Will that lives over by Bill Denimore?
This isn't anything.
Bill did a, Will?
Yeah.
From out there to here, like, I just want to step and go.
I know there's
what's going on with
Bill,
this?
I think it's Bill Will,
I mean, you weren't seeing their
I think that's
faces
his name,
when you're talking.
has the
And I
deer
was
right
like,
there when you come up out of that bottom.
I just wanted
Okay.
to, I just
It would be
really wanted to
his
stand up and go, what is?
Dad and
this is
uncle are the ones I'm trying to
everybody's
figure
money.
out.
This isn't about this.
Pretty sure it's his dad or his
Probably
brother.
Alfie Will's sons, right? Alfie and Roger's son?
I think so.
That'd be my guess, but I don't know them Wills very well.
Okay.
They live up on Montrose.
Yeah, I don't know him either. We got to meet him today.
Why?
We were ditching over there
So
on
that means that they're
Bill's
as many as 60 to 80%
road just south of it.
are disposed.
And he pulled up and Tony got a phone call. So Tony stopped moving.
So there's a small.
And he sat there for about
That's the independent.
maybe up to 5 minutes. It wasn't over 5 minutes.
So
And he backed out and went around. He called Todd, left him a nasty voicemail. Then he come to the townhouse and he started telling Tony how rude it was and inconsiderate and this and that.
Lightning bolts.
And he finally pushed my buttons far enough that I chimed in. I told him, I go, you won't have to worry about it. It won't happen again. We're shutting the road down Monday.
They function
No cars
with
through.
emotions. Exactly.
And then,
This is not.
then he didn't know what to say.
This is about the numbers.
That's exactly how we see it.
You don't know his first name?
Mm-mm. Drove a white Chevy.
So at least it wasn't.
I don't get over
me.
it very much. No, I wouldn't know.
I don't either. I know quite a few people further north of there,
I know it
but
for
not getting
forever.
south
And
closer to the
I
line.
mean, you talk to me, Bob, I feel like you didn't know who I was.
That's pretty close to
And
Clean
we made
Dust,
it very
where Clean
clear.
Dust lives, right?
Well, they don't
Further
know who
south.
I am, so
South.
they're-
Further,
That's why I was.
do you know
so
where the
spoke
Brumlevies
up.
live or Millers?
Yeah, I know Rockmore lives.
Okay. Dittamore is right before you drop down that, or Dittamore. Will is right before you drop down that hill on the left side.
There's a, yeah, the Will
They
there,
don't know
Kurt
if
Will,
it's
I think Kurt's,
Yeah.
Who is that?
Kurt, he might, I don't know where Kurt lives.
It's not Kurt. I could have swore his name was Bill.
Yeah.
Bill, Bill, about this. Who would
What?
do that?
Pretty sure that's his name.
15%. Like, I mean, the guy's name.
You know what, I could probably look that up on GIS.
Kurt will be a brother to Alfie and Roger, younger brother. I don't know where he lives though. There's
Well, I know
somewhere-
the old man lives over there. I think he's across the county line.
I want to do
South.
it, I absolutely.
Yeah, get into Effingham County.
So go in there and get a
Jasper,
copy of that.
Effingham County.
That would be Effingham there, wouldn't it? Because you're coming out of Montrose, and then you've got that Will Dairy.
Yeah, Bill there.
That's Effingham, isn't it?
Down the street.
Because Jasper doesn't start until you cross the railroad tracks.
Yeah, pretty close there, yeah.
But I know he's related to that Will that's right at the top of the hill.
Yeah, okay. No, I don't, couldn't tell you, Aaron.
So they've been positive till just recently. Till 17 months. I think you pointed that out.
Why would it not just go?
And 18 when they kind of
Did you leave his name?
started going down.
He did for Todd. I just didn't catch it.
The insurance, their
And
insurance.
they didn't introduce themselves when they come up and started chewing on Tony.
Let's see.
I see.
For some reason, they didn't do it to me though.
Yeah, here.
I felt left
insurance and
out.
bonding is 20,000.
So the biggest problem was that he was blocking the road for 5 minutes.
15.
Yep.
That's what his problem was.
In 2012, so it went up.
Talking on the phone rather than dipping.
When you have a bad day, it might bother you, but normally you can wait 5 minutes.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
That was a big expense.
I don't know.
That decrease.
Do you farm, Floyd?
Yes,
Like corn and beans or
Mhm.
livestock?
Both.
I got hogs too, but
Anyway.
yeah, I grew up farm. I farm right there by Todd's house. I got 40 acres, and then I got 160 right by the township building.
It's all in?
Yeah, we're all done.
Okay.
Yep.
So who is it who had the hard time this year? Was it the really big guys or really,
My brother isn't done yet.
is he a big farmer?
No, he ain't really that big. He just got a late start and had a replant. That's the biggest problem, he had a replant. And I got lucky. Mine come in just a couple days sooner. It got above the rain and it didn't have to replant. So, well, he planted some of this corn the 10th day of July. And I finished up.
I mean, don't they usually, like, say you can't, is it not insured after that date or something?
Well, the insurance is lower rate. They still insure, but at a lower rate. So it was not a good decision, but he didn't have much else to do. He didn't want to take prevent planting, which he could have done that. But that all affects your insurance too in the long run. So,
I can't imagine the paperwork on that kind of stuff.
yeah.
How
He
do you
just
even
thought,
know what to do?
well, I don't know. He made a decision. He's combining now. It's making corn. It's kind of wet yet, but he may have a decent crop.
How much did you get on yours?
Corn yield,
Yeah, about.
200 bushels an acre. Farm average 200.
What was your percent though?
I mean percent.
How wet it
Moisture.
was?
Oh, 24 was the highest.
That ain't too bad.
No, we dried
I seen a
out.
lot of people doing 26, 27.
Well, nobody wanted to do it then. I waited till down to 24, then I started drying, and then it finally got dry.
Nice. Well, it's one of those things, we were watching it, we drove out east on, I don't know, it must have been the end of May, maybe
Oh.
middle of June, or beginning of June, and, we went all the way across Indiana, Ohio.
Roger and Ruth Will are the parents.
Okay.
And it wasn't planned.
Richard.
Thank you, Ben.
Okay.
I was close.
Roger Will's their parents.
Yeah. Well, no, Roger was one of them.
Roger was one of them?
Yeah.
Roger Will's about
80?
70 years old, 75, 80.
Yeah. That was one of them.
He's one, oh, Roger was there.
Roger and one of his boys.
Okay. No, Kurt would be a brother to Roger. Kurt would be a brother to Roger.
Okay.
So I don't know who lives there. I don't know Roger's, well, who, wait a minute. What are their names?
Well, no, actually, you said Kurt would be a brother.
Kurt doesn't farm.
Well, I don't know if these guys were farmers, but I just assumed they were part of that dairy farm.
Yeah, hard to say.
But anyway, I know it's that group, because they mentioned the one at the top of the hill.
Okay. Yeah, Roger and Alfie run the dairy farm, then their sons were in on it. And I don't know who done's what now.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who's involved anymore.
Find your clip.
Whether the sons or some of the sons are there or not, I don't know.
Well, since
Well,
the-
that is only one bid there, because if I had to
They're good
compare
for
apples to
August.
apples with two different bids, we'd be in trouble. You couldn't begin to compare them.
No.
Only go by the bottom dollar amount at the end. Come a little higher than I thought.
I knew it was gonna come in high.
Yeah, I knew it'd be higher than what it was, I knew that, they should have figured that. But, hell, they got fair raises for their employees over the next 5 years, and they don't wanna go broke doing this, bid it too low, and then it's financial trouble, so when you take a bid, you gotta bid high.
Right.
If they had a way of just, what they did before, they weren't bidding it, they were just kinda going from year to year. Okay, well, I guess I'll just leave.
You got some details, drop some on. I'm always finding something to have, a pillow.
Yeah, I got a bad back, I try to sit on it. Okay, I'll go home and look at this a little bit, but that's the bottom line, it's pretty damn high now. What else you gonna do? Can we raise taxes that high?
Can't, not according to my calculations. How close am I saying? I'd say we're what, 20 off, 30?
If
I was doing my rough numbers.
They've had a figure a while ago.
If you raise area 3 to the max now of 22,
It's still gonna be 20 or 30 off.
well,
We gotta raise
with the estimated E80s I have right now, it'd be 100,800 approximately that we could
Oh, so it's
raise.
further than that.
5,000, 100, we could possibly get almost 101,000.
And what was
They
the
want
bid?
115, so that'd be 14.
Okay, so that wasn't quite as bad as I was thinking.
Well, we can go back and raise area number one and two also, can't we?
Got to
You'll
hold the
have
hearings
to
and
go
stuff.
through the whole
I know.
process.
That's about next year we can do that, right?
This is a negotiation.
We need to do that to make them all kind of the same.
I know, but Area 3 was,
No, we're just talking.
didn't want to go up to 22.
Come on.
And the board pretty much
Ready to go.
didn't promise it, but so just
Okay,
because
the
we
other area's
raised
at
them.
22, right? Both area one and two is at 22.
Yes.
They wanted them to raise to 30.
Yeah,
So
we
raise them
haven't
to
done
30.
those.
That one don't help a whole lot of dollars, does it?
30 won't get you
Won't
much.
get
The,
you
the
nothing.
Jewett one won't get you anything.
And then the lawyer's gonna.
It won't get you nothing, 5,000, maybe a couple dollars.
Maybe
So-
$300.
300?
It's only 300 houses,
Okay.
On our side.
Oh.
but area two is one that's basically 65% of the load, and they're not getting any price increase.
What's,
I don't
like
see,
Springpoint Woodbury, multi-township. We are 2/3 of the township of what Woodbury is. And that's what we pay into that multi-township, 2/3.
It's so nice of them to kind of lay out.
You should have been at the meeting last night. You missed a good one.
Why?
There was a lot of screaming and yelling.
What was the multi-township meeting?
Yep. We had,
The tax increases.
no, it's a whole, I think I told you about it before, about we contracted with Ashley last year. Well, Mackenzie was there, Ashley,
But anyway.
and Rich Willenberg.
Okay.
And Steve and Denise, well, Deb got to snarking off to Steve, got him to raising his voice, and she started, started bickering back and forth, then Denise jumped in. Then Sandy Millsap jumped
And they
in.
said they had to run the numbers,
I'll put it this way,
but
Denise
if they
covered
have a
that.
150,000 line of credit, that's not our problem.
good.
They have a contract, they've already
Are they
been
gonna
paid.
hire Ashley again?
Nope. Ashley said she won't do it because of the way Woodbury treated her. I don't blame her.
What would Woodbury do wrong?
Not for the camera.
Okay. I didn't.
It's pretty bad.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'll put it this way, if it ever gets out, it would bankrupt the multi-township.
Ashley is not gonna do it again. Are they gonna try to hire someone else, or are they gonna?
Mackenzie said she would do it for what we have for the assessor this year.
4,500?
Yep,
I think that's a good deal myself.
it is. So they went ahead and agreed to it last night.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But see, if she comes in above that, we've only got $300 to play with in the entire levy. And that don't take long to eat that out.
She probably won't. Yeah, I don't know what she'll do. Okay, so they got it settled maybe, huh? Okay,
For this year,
for this year, okay.
till next year.
I see.
We all just got our notices.
Yeah,
I saw mine too.
I didn't get mine yet.
It's probably at home.
No, I'm over there in your, Effingham? Or
T-Town mail.
I don't know why, but I'm always a day behind you guys.
What are you on?
Sigel.
Sigel. Okay.
At least now I'm getting my mail again, though.
Well, weren't you?
Do you know Deb Meddy?
Who?
Deb Meddy? Sigel?
No.
Used to be Deb Crampy.
Oh, okay, I know Dave Crampy, yes. I know you.
She was returning to send her all my mail.
That's what I exactly
She was. She sent my voter ID card back to Bev 3 times. Said it was an insufficient
Yeah,
address.
definitely, yoga.
Really?
It took me filing
I
a
think we
complaint
should
against her to get it to stop.
Resubmit and give them a longer time
Was it an
to,
insufficient address?
especially
because
since Christmas
my
and New
address has
Year's
been the
is
same
coming
since
up. Give them till
1986.
like the end of
Are
January.
you a route in a box? Or a,
911.
or your 911?
Had the same address.
96.
Yeah, yeah.
No, 86.
Oh, really? Oh, you guys were on it before us.
Well, no,
I
but we're,
would not
it's
run
been
it.
the same location.
Yeah.
And never had an issue until
Provide a copy
this
of
year.
the current
I thought it was odd that I wasn't getting any volume of mail.
She
Oh, you know.
postal person here.
Insurance.
Sigel,
Or I don't know how.
postal secretary. She's not even the
And you
postmaster.
say as a committee.
Well, it gets better. She was also rejecting the township
There's a lot of
message.
time.
That being addressed to our address. I would hate to say how much mail she actually rejected.
Well, they have that attorney.
Oh,
And
yeah, I'm trying to put it in.
I told us the postmaster.
Got him.
Well, actually, the first time I went in there, I was showing all to
But it's
the,
a little unrealistic there.
the part-time
No, but they
secretary.
have.
They
a letter
both-
of-
And I told him, I go, if it happens again, and I find out,
So,
I'm not gonna be as nice as I am right now.
So-
Hard to
We're
say.
rolled in there. Very nice.
Right then, yeah.
But
When
I
you
go,
can't even-
it'll get worse if it happens again.
Can we make,
I start getting my mail late.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, I get a phone call from my power company.
that's why I didn't
They're like,
Your bill's due.
our bill, your bill comes back to us.
All right, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Okay, handbook meeting, 4:45.
And they're like, did something change? I'm like, no, I'll be in there to get my
Shouldn't
bill,
take too long.
and I'll take care of it.
Was it written out as county road or CO space
And
ID?
we want to add drug
Either way.
policy.
Okay.
Okay.
No, here's what
So I
was
think that's
happening.
the main.
We have, to my
Okay,
address,
Roy's kind
there
of
are
figured out.
9 to 15 different
Well-
names that come to us.
I have them highlighted
And-
in call time areas, so,
We have 2 addresses, no, we have 3 addresses on my property.
yeah.
And
That's
I receive
basically,
mail at 2
I
of them.
think, it.
Okay, one of them is what I consider
Look at it one more
business
time,
or
maybe,
farm address.
because you know, we went
Really,
over
the only thing that goes there is my
Okay.
tax
this
bill.
year.
Did we?
And
Yeah.
we
That's
just never
literally
passed
all
it
it
because
is.
I was waiting on that.
And
previous
the
law.
only reason we have that
I know
address
last
is because
year
we
they
have
did
an
that 'cause we
old
didn't
trailer
have
sitting there.
drugs.
and
Yeah,
It was
you
deemed
want-
a
Because that's why we use
resident,
that.
and you have to have an address.
Right, right.
Is that including
Well-
the tax money?
Are we gonna pass that drug
We're remodeling the house and we're staying in a camper.
tax money?
sales
And
and
she
money?
claims we
I
had
don't
to
know
change
what
our
the sales
address
tax
because we weren't staying in the house.
Remember, we
They need
passed
another
our
ambulance.
sales
Well,
tax.
Good.
They need another ambulance.
Anyway,
Yeah, to do the 3%
So I got a
or
hold
the
of the postmaster.
3.75.
and
Cannabis sales?
I chaw it on his
But we
secretary.
need to probably
And
pass
I
something
said,
if you're going to allow.
tell him that if he don't call me tomorrow, because he was
Allow
out of
sales.
town for something, I go, I'm going with his boss, the postmaster in
First of
St. Louis
January, you
again.
know that, right?
And I go,
We
it's
did
not
the
gonna be
sales thing, I
nice.
guess.
Well, he told me the
January
next
one's
morning at
with-
about 8 o'clock. He goes, I talked to your secretary, the part-time military,
So I
secretary
don't
and
know
the
if the
part-time
county
secretary. He
can.
goes, now I'm gonna get your story.
Hmm.
I started explaining to him, I go, I've got all I've got copies of everything that
There
they
you go.
That's something that we
notified
probably.
me.
So Roy would bring that up.
And he goes, well, why don't we just create a list of names that might come to your
All right.
address?
All right, have a good weekend.
Thank you, Floyd.
See you later.
Nice seeing you.
Take care.
Hope your back is better.
He goes, I go, that's impossible. I really am gonna come to my address. I go, I'm taking care of my dad's estate,
I think
my
it
uncle's estate, my aunt's estate. So right there would be 6 different names. I go, then we go to township. It can come in anybody's name in the township. That it could be one of the trustees, the supervisor, the road commissioner. We receive, you're up to 15 names right there. And he's like, okay, I see your point. And he goes, well, I've given her a direct order that if she rejects, or if you receive any mail, it doesn't matter what it is, it goes through. If I find out it goes back, she's being right up. Every
All right,
goes back.
who was the guy who talked to it, Green?
Since then, I've not received, or not received any.
Stacy Meyer?
What's the point of rejecting it? You're supposed to register all these names with the post office so they know who it is.
It's not required.
Of course it's not.
Dustin Meyer?
You know what it is 15 years ago, me and her got into it, and I went to the postmaster in St. Louis. My mailbox used to be 3/4 of a mile down the road. And I wanted it brought down, so I did an extension. I put a mailbox at a half mile, and then extended it another half mile.
Brad,
And she tried to block it. We went all the way to the postmaster in general, because I'm the only one on the house, and it's, you know, a mile and a half, more route pay,
Which one is she married?
all that to the mail carrier.
That's where your box is.
And who's
Well,
the-
and, you know,
Right.
and so she thought she saw a loophole to try to mess with me. Attempted it. It's sad.
Oh, okay.
I had, right after moving into my new one addresses, I got my address updated with the Secretary of State. And I got a new license and all that. Well, I wasn't getting my car renewals. And, I called up and they said, well, it's getting returned, well, because it got returned. They're questioning whether I'm living in my address. And this was like 20 years ago, so before Real ID left, which was a real pain.
Right.
But
Oh, my,
I
Mike,
went to the
Jonna.
post office. And they said, well,
It's like J.
No,
so what
it's
was
Z,
happening was the
ZH,
Secretary of State was
ZHONA.
printing out these things.
Yeah, she's one
And it
of
was just doing each address, county road, and then chopping it off. It wouldn't do the same.
No, there she is. I was trying to Google it.
They didn't have a way. That was the last part on there. And so I was like, well, somebody's gotta figure this out
That
because
was a lot.
That Bev, she's something
I
else.
can't fix your computers. But you can't just send it out 10 days. You gotta have a whole address.
You can have the book.
Would you guys mind?
She said you could
You can have that book. That's what they're made for
Well,
people
somebody
to,
can take it, I'll be back.
we got more.
But we can just, maybe each take 2 people, maybe something,
Yeah,
and talk to them, and see what they would think about that.
okay.
Yeah, 2,
And see, this
4,
is the way
6.
we were told to write it when we were in,
Well, let's get on the same.
we got our note. You know, we
I
got
will say, I can
saying
try,
what our
this is not a good one.
And we did this one time,
Well,
and
I'm
out
not,
that one.
not taking
Now,
each of us
which
take
one do
2,
you
and then that'll cover everybody.
Okay.
That's easy for sure.
Okay.
Well, I'd say until you have the star on it.
The only two I even know is
Shauna.
Shauna.
Real ID. This one's more like,
Why wouldn't they do brown? It's
it's not real ID, you don't have a star.
Should have been. I just renewed this.
You don't get automatically real ID until next year. You have
Were you
to
looking for
have
somebody?
before then.
John
You gotta
Brown?
go back in. And get
Or
your
she
documents
may
and
not
go
be,
back.
if she's not on there. If she's not
But
listed.
you get like a Texas star up there.
She
It
has
has
a
a
passport, so it don't matter.
So it's there.
That's the one I didn't care. Florida don't even have a license on it, or address on there. Point card.
Compared to not getting anybody's been changed.
The CO.
Yeah, well, that's, so we got our notice
so
of
Terry,
our
we'll
address
take-
from the post office. It had this CO, space RD, space blah, blah.
Alright, so I'm gonna put a
And
T
so
there, I'm gonna
council
put a T
state
there.
was writing it out, county road, and then chopping off. And I was like, you know, this is about the Republican name because it works.
I don't know any of these people. I know
Just getting
Danita.
caught up in this.
Okay.
If you're chopping off the last, I can't know which two.
Yeah, I'm gonna clear it all out.
Unless the milk knew you, they wouldn't bring it.
But still, it's like, that's asking a lot. I understand that.
We were fortunate.
Well, you're going above and beyond now.
We've been doing these books for years. So they are handy.
I want one of them
They are
books.
very handy.
I want one of them books.
They're better than the phone book.
You can give me Hillary's if you haven't mailed them out.
Oh, yeah, she should have had one. We've had these since
Oh,
early summer.
I thought these were the new ones.
Well, 19, but
Okay.
they're usually outdated by the time you,
You
They're
get them?
still
printed.
much better
So I'll
than
get a hold of
phone
you on
book.
3 then.
things change so easily.
Well, that and a lot of people put their home numbers on it and nobody answers them.
Right, because it's all spam. I would answer a home number, because then you just call them that.
It's just whatever numbers we get from the different
I didn't know that.
places.
I was looking for Spring Point, see how many of them put their home numbers. I know we're in here.
I may have cell phones written down in mine personally and just put the numbers I've been given. Because I don't like to give them out if they don't give them.
I'm nowhere close, it's page.
Service one day, it's Teresa Owens was in there, and she kind of threw those daggers at me in her eyes, you know, when I was starting to ask about it. So I
No,
imagine
this doesn't have
she
township.
would be the one, like the green up gal. So it'd be her that's gonna have to do more work, and that's not gonna be any fun for her.
No.
She's been in there a while too. I remember her working for the city back in the 90s. 94, 95, I remember meeting her the first time.
I'm telling you, this war goes all the way back to that May 1st, 1843, I'm telling you. I'll dig out the history books and bring them over to you. Wow.
I'm gonna say I don't understand it. I'm just from Jewett and we just try to get along, don't we, Julie?
Yeah.
Like,
We actually do.
We've got these 2 big books of Johnstown history.
Yes.
And, you know, it costs us $100, $50 a book. And they're this tall, you know, I mean, like that thick. And it's so cool to go through and look at them, and read newspaper articles and the people and the
The main
names.
thoroughfare.
Johnstown?
Yeah.
Well, it's the first larger than Chicago at one point.
Was it like the first settlement or something?
Yeah,
I don't know.
something
It was
very
something.
early.
I think it was the main thoroughfare to go from here to Paradise to the other area. That Paradise. That would be Johnstown. That's what he did.
So where are we gonna recommend to the board? They meet next week, right?
Yeah,
Tuesday.
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 So,
I recommend that they raise the levy to whatever they can, and we resubmit the RFP and have a deadline date of like March.
so like when you say raise the levy, you want them to go max on all
Not the
three?
raise the levy, you know what I mean?
Keep it where it's at now.
Right, but don't they have an option to go up to
They have
5%?
an option.
Yeah,
We have a max rate now of 22 cents on Area 3.
Yeah, that's farmland there.
Just guessing with the estimated EAVs I have right now, we could only get a little over 100,000. If you went to 22 cents on Area 3. So we can't even get 115,000 on a levy.
all right, but the thing that we were talking about though was the, what's the max rate you can go without having to do the additional work? Was that 5%?
With that, 4.99.
4.99.
And that'll get about, you're looking at about 58,600 approximately.
Now,
These
hold
are all
on.
estimates.
Special service areas don't fall under that.
You still have to have a truth and taxation hearing
Okay,
if you go over 5% from what you got the year before.
that's true, but they're not capped.
At the max rates in
Right.
the ordinance.
Okay, just making sure that that was clear.
Yeah,
Because
they can go up
I know there was a lot of
too.
confusion in that last time I attended a meeting like this.
But see, if you even do 4.99 with the estimated EAVs right now, you won't get 22 cents or 11 cents because the EAVs are high enough that you would have to do truth and taxation just to get 22 cent max rates on 1 and 2 and 11 cents on Area 3.
They're not at 22 right now for 1 and 2.
Well, because the estimated EAV is going up, you gotta ask for enough
To accomplish.
To
Because of
get
P-TEL,
up
to make
there.
it through the P-TEL.
No,
you know,
no,
well-
P-TEL's not
I
in
didn't- okay.
factor.
It's just,
What she's trying to say is new construction. You
well,
gotta account for
not
that.
even new construction. You have to levy enough. And then, so that's going over what we did last year. And to get enough to get your 22 cents. How do I wanna show this?
I follow you, so, but my
Okay.
question is last year,
Oh.
they didn't get to the 22 cents on-
3 did not.
on 1 and 2.
Area 1 was at 22.
That's Jewett.
Area 2 was at .217, so it wasn't quite 22 cents.
Okay, it's like,
And Area 3 was .104, so they weren't quite 11. So see, you gotta ask for enough that hopefully then you can max it out at the 11 and the 22. Does that kind of make sense?
Sure.
So like estimated EAVs that I have right now, in Area 1, if you take the estimated EAV times the 22 cent max rate, it's $1,800.18. Well, that would amount to an 8% increase. So you would have to have a truth in taxation. Okay, so Area 2 would be like an 11% increase with this EAV. And Area 3 at the 11 cents would be a 19% increase.
and at the 22 cents?
I didn't figure at 22 cents what that percentage would be. It'd be a lot.
130%?
Yeah.
You know, and these are estimated EAVs. You know, Board of Review hasn't done their thing, that we don't know those numbers till next year. So you're just doing estimates. But we know it max out, you know, even if we ask for a lot, it's gonna max out at the 22 cents across the board, you
It
know.
cannot exceed.
It cannot exceed that. But you may be asking for more, but because it's over the 5%, you have to publish that.
Right.
And it looks terrible. It may amount to a few dollars like on Jewett.
Well, what if
But-
we went back to the board and say, it's too soon to tell, let's just stay at the 5%. Let's not raise anything else except the part that we don't have to go,
Well, why do they have to raise it at all?
we don't?
Well, I'm not gonna sit here and recommend they raise it any.
Okay, good, good.
So you wanna
Good
just
feedback.
leave it the same as last year, or do you wanna do up to 4.99, and like I said, it won't even get up to the max rate?
I would not raise it one bit until we get this mess straightened out.
Yeah,
And that's my feelings.
yeah, I like it, I like it. What do you think?
I'm
agree with
Roy?
him.
Let's
Yes.
save that truth in taxation.
Just stay where we are?
Trying to
Yeah.
get that,
I wouldn't touch it till this
because
one-
we are down to the wire.
Don't even go,
Yes, we are.
don't raise the levy at all, not even.
That's what you'll recommend?
Yeah, I recommend just leave it where it is.
Okay,
Do not do the 4.95.
Because they're good till August supposedly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're good
But
to
she
all.
did say, talk to my lawyer, we don't have a contract.
Yeah, that's not how I heard it. They do have a contract.
That's what was said
Yeah, I understand.
on the way past.
Oh, on the way past, on
So,
the way out the
so
door?
does that mean they're not gonna do it? Is that what they're saying?
The contract is from 1982.
Well, I understand that.
But because it's been acted as it's been continued
Yeah.
under Robert's rule, they have to fulfill it up until August.
Right, and the lawyer saw that.
I'm pretty sure it's Robert's rule that it would apply under. It's been a while since I've
I'm not
talked
an
that.
attorney on that, so I don't know.
But did you say on the way out the door, they said that they didn't have a contract?
Yeah, when they were getting up and leaving, and you said, well, we're good till August, and we have a contract, I think they said,
Michaela said we'd have to talk to our attorney.
that one. There you go.
Okay, so they weren't leaving, then she was still sitting there, what she said.
Yeah, but she did say we'd have to
Okay.
ask the attorney
I
on
remember
that part.
thing.
You just taxpayers' money to pay for a lawyer, that's just, I mean, on right now.
There are a lot of problems, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Taxpayers' money to pay a lawyer to fight the taxpayers for money.
Yeah.
So the only other thing on the audits, are you going to turn them over to the county board as the statute says?
All right, well, let's talk about that. First of all, technically, they don't have the proper audits. But since we're a small town, you know, we don't necessarily have to push for that because it's an extra expense. So the question is, are we comfortable enough using the
Why do you
bank's
need
audits?
not a proper audit?
Well, the bank is doing the audit, so.
I
they're-
think we better get somebody to audit the daggone books.
Okay.
Agreed.
You're talking about a bank that's floating the line of credit.
Too
That's
much-
that's a conflict of
Too much
interest.
Absolutely.
Too much conflict. This is good, this is good feedback.
Okay, I have a thing. Now, so you may want to audit the past, but say going forward, now that we have special service area, does that statute just go for the special service area as the audit? An audit of special service area funds, because, you know, basically your incomes and expenses. It's not saying you have to audit your ambulance, right, going forward? Because in the past, we were treating it as one. Okay?
Yeah, I think they'd audit the whole thing.
The statute says that the
Special Service Area Commission will cause to have performed an audit according to generally accepted accounting practices.
But is it an audit for special service area or an audit for the,
It's an audit of
ambulance?
the provider,
of the provider? Okay.
not of the funds how the funds got into the provider, it's the provider
Yeah,
audit.
their business.
So, okay.
Because government money is going into a private or public or, you know, nonprofit body, that's why it's in the statute that that this body has an audit
Okay.
performed and turned into the county board. That's what it says. It doesn't
Okay.
say,
I just thought maybe it meant for special service, how they are, you know, how the funds go through the special service area part of it.
you
That's
know,
what I was
your
thinking.
end, how it gets to them. No,
Yeah,
it's not your end.
okay.
It's the provider of the service to the special.
Okay.
So essentially, that's part of the statute. Are you looking at that?
That's right, just pulled up.
Okay, he'll read it to you here in a second.
So far, we're leaving the levy alone, no change for this year, and we're demanding a separate audit.
An independent auditor.
Yeah.
due to conflict of interest with the First National Bank.
And it's really, it's just that it's not a gap audit, because a gap says you have to have an independent audit, and obviously, the person who's doing the books and.
It will be an audit of the accounts controlled by the special service area commission. So it would only be,
Controlled by this,
so it's
yes, that's.
gonna be the money that you guys are levying to turn over will be audited, not the actual company.
That's kind of the way I read it, but, and so then that would just fall within the county's audit.
Because
I'm
it says,
assuming once we get things flowing correctly.
each special service area commission shall cause an audit of the funds and accounts of the special service area.
Yeah, that's just us, that's our tax money only, that's not the business.
Where does it say gap?
Doesn't say gap.
Well, then find where it says gap.
In accordance with generally accepted auditing standards.
Yeah,
It
but
says. GAAS.
GAP?
GAAP.
Oh, I can't spell. Nope.
Okay, then put, accounting.
Only that spot.
Because I think that's
Which all I'm
leading,
looking at is
special
just
service
the
area
special
up
service area
to
code.
hiring the right people. And then
Yeah, we'd be auditing ourselves then.
the area
Sure.
funds will be audited, but, and by a independent, which would be our auditor.
Correct.
It would just go through with the county funds,
Yeah,
because they'll have its own special account.
okay. So there is no benefit to us auditing that.
Because like, who would pay for that? If you make them get an audit, will they make you pay for that?
Let's just raise our taxes more. Ask for a higher.
You know what
levy.
I-
And a Chicago lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
So why wouldn't they be auditing the county?
Yeah, I just, this.
Well,
doesn't
I
make any
think
sense
it would
to
be
me
audited
because-
through the county, through our independent auditor, would just audit the special service area funds.
Correct.
That they're getting the right amounts, or that.
And
To
making
make sure
sure
that-
that account's
And that's
being
why we
handled the
can get
right
that.
way.
Right.
Making sure it's going to where it's supposed to go.
It was because of-
And basically, it's something, it's simple, tax money in, tax money out.
So once it hits the corporation,
College
it doesn't go any further, because it doesn't matter how they spend it, as long as they provide the service.
made us audit
That's what kind of, I understand it.
That's the way I read it.
a couple of times. Because they
I
provided
might be
some
full.
tax funds to us.
Close enough.
So we had to audit, or they brought.
Because, you know, in the past, we were doing it incorrectly as one,
Correct.
And the money was just given straight to them.
Office,
where the money should have went to a
And
special
explain
service
that.
area,
okay.
and then we write a
This
check
company
for the
has been
contract.
using their special services funds
That's the way
since
I-
1982, and we have no,
It's very
You're right on.
complicated.
that they're not solvent, and
We don't know if they are or not. How can we make a recommendation of this company if we don't have the true numbers? I mean, like you say, there's a conflict of interest with the auditor that they have. If I was the county board, I would demand an independent audit before I would ever give them a dime.
Okay, so we may be having two different conversations here then. So we want to audit this company, and the statute says the audit is only for the tax money from the SSA.
Special
Is that
service
correct?
area funds.
Okay. All right. So-
But they
Which
are
I
a
understand that.
non-profit.
I understand that. Tax money is gonna be audited, period, anyway. That's not what, we're talking a different level here.
Yeah, so we need a better understanding of the numbers. And I don't know whether we have, whether we're in a position to demand that they get.
No,
a gap
them
audit.
guys are.
But they're a nonprofit. Anybody can walk in and get the data. They are literally a nonprofit. So the whole separate rules of nonprofit apply, which says that as a public charity, I or anybody can walk in and ask for the books because they're
That's true, but
public
we're
charity.
asking for an additional fee service, which is a paid auditor, a gap audit. So nobody just off the street can demand that. So, but Terry's right, you know, that the county board should be able to say, well, you know,
Does the county board release these funds to the service area? I mean, do they have to vote on that to do that?
Terry, it's not been done correctly, I think, all these years,
But
because it was,
should be.
it's, was melded into one. So when tax
Yes.
money dollars, it went
Wow.
straight to special service area, which was Toledo ambulance.
But now the county board has their teeth into it where they should be the ones releasing the money.
It should be, you should have a contract, and you write a check for that contract.
Okay, and that brings us right back to the point, I would make the recommendation to the county board that they not release any money until they got an independent audit from these people.
So maybe along with your requirement on an RFP, maybe.
It's in the RFP.
Was it to have an independent audit?
Mhm.
Okay.
I believe if you want to.
But for the purpose of the meeting on Tuesday, we think that an independent audit should be demanded of the Toledo Ambulance Service.
If they decide to accept their bid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good.
I mean, why do it if you're not going to accept it? But if-
Well, their bid,
But we're not recommending that they.
Page
we're-
4,
we're
bottom of the page.
Definitely all in agreement that we're not recommending
no,
that they take that bid.
because their bid, they say the Toledo Area Emergency Ambulance Service will schedule, arrange, and pay for an annual audit made in accordance with general accepting accounting practices and submit it to Cumberland County, but they don't, but they've always done that through the bank.
Through the bank.
And we wouldn't,
So it is not a gap accounting, or audit. The bank, yeah, the bank is not independent or gap.
So can you hold them accountable for what's done in the past, but if they say they're gonna do it in the
No.
future,
if they say they're gonna do it in the future, you would need to make it extremely clear in a contract that, the Toledo Bank and all its branches is not acceptable because of a conflict of interest. They cannot be used to audit the books and be used as their line of credit. Because then the Toledo Bank has a definite interest in making sure that their books look good.
So everybody agrees to that then?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're clear on that. So we've got three things to talk to the board about. Don't take the bid, leave levy the same, and demand a separate audit. But do we need a separate audit for the existing? Or just moving forward? Is that what we were concerned about? Because we have the gap paragraph in our RFP, so we should be covered moving forward.
I don't know that this board would, needs to be interested in what happened in the past.
Okay?
I mean, the state's attorney might be real interested in it if something was in there, I don't know, but, or the county board itself, but not, so I think it's a forward-looking
Okay.
operation.
So
It
we
might,
don't,
at the most, it might be a FYI, if you're interested in, they have always been audited by the bank,
yeah.
which is a conflict of interest, if you,
So
and just point it out.
Just point it out,
Yeah.
yeah.
That-
Don't demand, but
No.
point out,
point out that,
yeah.
just for your information, you,
In the past.
in the past, this is what we've uncovered. It's a conflict of interest you might want. It's up to you whether or not you want to request them to have an independent audit or not.
That makes sense, Lily?
It does, yeah, because I'm trying to think it's not gonna do anything to go back. And even to do it now, if we go ahead and put more bids out, it's not really gonna gain anything, is it, to even do it from here to August? I mean, I don't see it,
No.
but, unless they're the ones that get the bid and go forward with it.
Because it's in the
Yeah,
bid
I think-
sheets,
yeah.
that they have to have an independent
Yeah,
audit.
so I think we have that covered moving forward.
Yeah.
So I will point out, though, that what they've been doing, instead of a gap and independent audit, has been going through the bank. And since we're a small town, we can do that, but we should not do that in the future. And we have addressed it in the RFP, but we want to just make sure that everybody's clear that we've got to do it right going forward. All right, so the next thing, item number 4, do we want to say resubmit the RFP as a recommendation?
Yes.
I agree with that.
All right, and lengthen our time frame for response on that. And also, now, are we gonna put ourselves in an awkward position if we contact the people that we sent the RFP to?
We should not be contacting them, actually.
See, as a salesman.
Okay,
I want to call them because I want some customers here, you know. So that's just my frame of reference.
Well-
But it is a conflict of interest, and according to our RFP,
Don't
they're
talk
not,
to
they're not
us.
allowed to
Yeah,
talk to us.
don't talk to us,
I
so.
know, I know, so you're absolutely right about that. So I'm trying to get a way to communicate to them, and really what I want is feedback. You know, why didn't you bid? That's really what I'm looking for.
That would be okay if you did it in a time that we do not have an RFP out on the streets. If you
Perfect.
want to do a postmortem and evaluate why we did not get responses in this RFP and take the time to do that, and then put out an RFP in like January, you know, then that would be okay, because then you're giving the committee back feedback on, yes, there was not enough time, or, you know, what other factors they may have come up with that we can adjust the RFP, that if they bring up some valid points. But once the RFP is out on the street, no, I don't agree with that.
I think you're absolutely right.
Roy, good with that? I like it. Anybody in the audience have anything to say about that? Okay.
Not that I'd put on camera.
I hope that battery's run out. So anyway, that's very good. All right, so resubmit and lengthen. All right, well, now let's see if we want me to bring that up. I don't think that's something I need to even bring up to the county board, that we're going to seek feedback on our existing one. Actually, if I put it that way, it may not sound too bad. Let me see what it looks like written down.
I like seek feedback.
And that's what you're doing
Yeah.
when you talk to people, is seeking feedback. You're not selling
Right.
some service.
And we got to that. We got to that. I started
Okay.
with salesman, and I got to what I really want is feedback.
Yeah,
And so you say to me, you brought me back to, this is how you get feedback.
yeah.
And so
It's a,
Because they're gonna ask questions, and you'll be able to answer them.
seek feedback from prospects, from potential RFP prospects, or something like that. Is that getting close?
Non-responsive RFP.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of keeping it vague enough to where it would be open to new people as well, so it wouldn't even be, you know, existing ones. If we look at it and say, hey, we didn't do this one or that one or something, so seek feedback from prospects would be vague enough and wouldn't be a conflict because there are no existing RFPs. And do that over the next, let's see, 10, over the next 30 days, perhaps, and then modify our new RFP to be submitted for review by the county board on the first board meeting day of January. So that would give us.
You don't have, no, there's no way you can get feedback in December.
No,
Christmas is ridiculous.
Christmas and New Year's.
No.
Yeah.
I would push it back a little bit longer.
So February, have our feedback by February meeting?
I think that would be.
That's more reasonable,
Yeah.
Okay, good.
because most people are going on vacation, because Christmas is what, 2 weeks now?
They've already gone in their head.
Yeah, vacation brain.
I hate to bring the
That's what we
levy
used to always
up
call it.
again, because you know, if we levy this, that's all the money you have if you get somebody. You know what I'm saying? After, say, starting September 1, 54 or 5,000 is all the money that we would have.
Yeah.
Would you want to increase the levy up, and then if the bid's lower, you could abate before, if, you know, if we know before taxes are finalized, you
No.
know, late spring?
No.
Then you could abate some of it? Do you know what I'm saying?
Julie?
I'm just saying, it's, because this is our last ditch.
I know.
We
She's
can
much
only get
more
so
worried
much
about
money.
that than we
Yeah.
are.
I don't want
Because,
somebody to say, well, we need more money. Well, you're not gonna get
She's
it.
the levy man. She's
Yeah.
the levy one.
Yeah,
That's the only thing. That's, I
So,
don't want it to come back and bite us in the butt
I
either.
understand, and it's a very good perspective, because none of us share that.
So,
So it's good, it's
Yeah.
good.
You wasn't here, we wouldn't even know.
What were you saying, Lori?
the quote contract that the Toledo ambulance is under now that runs to August, they've already received that money.
that's the way
I know
I
you've
look
told me a
at
million
it.
times, Bev,
That's the way I look
So-
at it. They were paid up front the very first year.
to August. So the new money that would come out, and we would keep the same time frame that they would start September to August,
Yeah, this money that we are levying right now
right now would go.
would
that-
start the new
Okay.
time frame.
So we're talking about a new RFP for February meeting, which would be February, is it the second Tuesday?
Yeah.
So February 11th. 2/11/20. Okay.
So you're looking at about an April 1st deadline?
You wanna give them longer, right?
Pardon?
You wanna give them longer than last time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that'd be all of March and half of February.
Be 45 minutes, or, yeah, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Does that seem long enough?
Well, what did we give them the first time, about 2 weeks?
3 days.
3 weeks?
Not enough.
Yeah. So, at some point, we may actually look smart. Like, by making it shorter, or maybe not, at some point, just luckily. Because we got the one, and we got the whole
I just
thing
feel like
up.
if somebody was interested, though, they would have bid on, you know, said yes.
Yeah, but man, that's a commitment.
And it's short.
In a very
timeframe,
short amount of time to be able to.
And it's hunting
consider it.
season.
It is, it is.
Harvest
It's
is
a bad
in.
time of year
Yeah.
to try to gather people together for something like that.
Yeah.
Plus, it didn't have a contract date,
Yeah.
so
No.
that was an
Yeah, we
uncertainty
really
of
learned a
when
lot
it
from that
was.
meeting.
No,
I'm
I
so
bet.
glad they did that. That was a lot.
Now, how did you hear about it to be able to get
They,
there?
somebody called me,
Oh, okay, you got notified, okay.
yeah, yeah. And, yeah, I was surprised. I immediately wanted to call all you guys and say, well, they need to be in on it, and they, you know.
You could've called me, I'd have showed up.
Yeah.
Let- don't want to take us off track, but I gotta know the answer to this. Let's say, you know, we're talking about people with an attitude, and they don't know that we're not going to suggest that the county board accepts this contract. Okay, they come in, they're gonna get mad, there's no doubt about it, they're gonna be mad. Let's just say they walk. What happens then? If they just walk, what happens? I need to know.
The other ambulance services come in and cover it.
That's
by
what
law.
I thought.
By law, yeah.
But there's a contract and a prepayment, so until that contract is,
If their attorney tells them to walk,
But
they're
they
in
got a
big trouble.
Chicago lawyer, you know,
Yeah, they're in big trouble if they walk.
so
but how do you,
How do we enforce it?
Well, no, I'm just,
the county board would probably just say, see you later, Jack. I would think if I was on the county board, wouldn't that be what you would say? Because you know the other ambulance services are gonna come in and take over.
No, because you're talking about a county board that spent money. And I don't know if you know how tight they are.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna try to get that money back.
Yeah,
Because
right.
we have paid them, and if they go with the existing contract, they should work
Yeah,
till.
and I think they
August
have
30th.
to, I think their lawyer is telling them that they have to.
Okay,
They really do.
well, I'm just, but the people working there do not have to show up to work. I mean, they could quit tomorrow.
Well, that's true. And
And so then what happens?
then we attach their assets, just like the bank would.
Well, the county board would have to do that.
Yeah, we get the tires off the ambulance.
Well, I just needed to know the answer to that question. If they walk, what's gonna happen? Or if none of this gets resolved on down the road, what's gonna happen? You know, if the two ambulance services have to meet in the middle and take it over,
But the thing about that is, and this is a true thing, is that they would be missing ambulances in the county. And so, as it is now, through mutual aid, you can be caught short without that ambulance. So what would happen is if Greenup has to come over further, or Neoga has to come over further, they may not really be able to do it with the number of ambulances they have.
correct.
So, you know, there's a reality of how many ambulances there are versus, you know, how it gets divvied up by, there's a person at Sarah Bush who's in charge of making sure there's no gaps
They
in
got a
coverage.
letter from her, a recommendation letter.
But, yeah,
Really?
yeah. But
Is that, who was,
there's
I saw the
58,000
recommendation letter from Sarah Bush, I
Yeah.
didn't know
So-
who was the person in charge of this.
Yeah.
Sarah Bush, or in each region, as defined by the Illinois Department of Public Health,
Oh, I have it right
Yeah,
a
sure.
certain
The last one.
hospital in that region has an EMS coordinator, and they're, essentially when somebody goes on an ambulance run, they're working under the emergency medical license of the doctor at that hospital.
Oh, that's not a recommendation.
So
No, that's just,
that
saying that
hospital
they
is
comply with the
responsible
rules,
for making sure
regulations,
there are
and
no,
they comply
MAC
with
gaps.
Sarah Bush Lincoln Health Center
And
EMS
they-
system.
so does
and
that
no corrective
hospital then
actions to be
have the
taken place.
authority to say, Greenup, you're going here, Neoga, you're going here?
They
Is that
do-
who
they-
it comes through, or does the state
no,
step
no,
in?
it's the hospital through the authority of the
Of the
state.
state?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay,
there's an EMS system
Okay,
that is administered by hospitals, but mandated by the state
okay. So it's run through Sarah Bush
for our region.
or our region?
It's like Carl handles a different region. So if an ambulance service in Rantoul, let's say, disappeared, Carl Hospital would be figuring out
Who's going to take it?
who's getting their arm twisted to go in there.
Well, the way I look at it is if that come to pass and they had to come here and they had to come here, and you say they're gonna be short an ambulance, they've got $58,000 to put towards another ambulance.
Is that how much money we'll have? 15,000?
Or whatever it is, 55, I think.
Well, we got, what, 55 this year?
I said 58.
So if we keep.
Yeah,
it
if we
the same-
leave it the same,
Yeah, if we leave it the
then we're
same.
looking about 55.
55, so,
Okay.
you know, over 4 years, they got one paid for, so. I'm just trying to look at the worst case scenario.
I know, and I like your approach, I definitely like your approach, because if it does all blow up, it's not the end of the world. at all.
Exactly.
At all. And we have 55,000 to go toward, offsetting their costs, if they do need another ambulance, like you said. But that's only worst case scenario, so we wanna be much more proactive than letting it get there. Roy?
So when a 911 call comes in to our 911, does somebody at the hospital get that same call?
So my understanding is they dispatch, and as soon as an ambulance is dispatched, the communication begins with the patient care directly back to the hospital. So they can put real-time leads, heart monitoring leads, and that data goes straight to the hospital. But essentially, let's say it would happen, and I'm not saying, this is no example of anything around here, but let's say, for example, there were an ambulance somewhere that, gave bad care in a very, very bad way. That the hospital has the authority to say, you know, you guys can't handle this deal that you're in charge of, and withdraw the authority of an ambulance who's working under that doctor's license. So essentially, it's what's called pre-hospital care. That's what we're talking about. An ambulance is pre-hospital care. So it's just the hospital's outward reach to begin care wherever that patient is. So any drugs that are administered, any procedures that are instructed of what you do when you find somebody in this situation is already defined by the hospital and delivered to the ambulance services of, here's how you start. You know, if they don't have pulse, do this. And if they need this drug, here's your authority. If you're a BLS, a basic life support, you can only give care up to a certain level. If you're advanced, you can do an added level, and that's all defined by the hospital system, which comes back through the Department of Public Health.
So in a case that if they don't show up for work, and then there's a rep and there's a call in.
Mutual aid covers that situation. So it's just as if an ambulance had to transport somebody to Springfield.
So it would just be
they're out.
decided in the 911 office by where it lights up on their map, and they would say, green up, we need you here.
Exactly.
Okay.
Just as if, you know, you need an officer over here and there's nobody nearby, the one from over here has to come cover it. So it's mutual aid does it now.
That's a good term, mutual aid.
So, I would ask the question, the next question that comes up, do you think that Greta and Neoga understand that that's what would happen if this, do they understand that now?
Absolutely, that's why so many people were showing up at these county board meetings.
So they
Some of the
understand
ambulance
that.
people. They were coming from Clark County, saying that, well, we gotta know what's going on, because we may have to cover this if they close down.
And Neoga was specifically saying we would struggle because we are short. They cover for us now when we need coverage, so they're missing for that. Or when we have to cover for them, you know, the way it works now is it works because people cover those two ambulance problems by coming from surrounding areas in our county. They come from different directions to each other. There was something that was said though that was, I don't recall exactly how it applied, but Neoga ambulance said that so-and-so isn't allowed to cross the county line. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that one.
I think it was Abbott. Abbott wasn't allowed to cross.
Lakeside.
Lakeside. Okay, so you heard it?
Yeah, Lakeside sued.
Sued who?
County of Effingham.
Oh, that was because of what I was saying, they needed every single call within that area, and they said no.
Correct.
They have a contract for that.
Yeah.
So Lakeside can't cross
That's
which?
the word.
Well,
Which
I don't
border?
think it was Lakeside that Neoga was talking about. Neoga was saying that, you know, our mutual aid comes from Toledo, and they don't necessarily have mutual aid from certain other directions for whatever reason. I don't know if Effingham County might be part of a different hospital system.
Exclusive right to the area.
Yeah, I can understand that for Abbott, since they have a contract.
Yeah.
But, so they don't even request mutual aid, perhaps.
You know, on mutual aid, I think it goes back to those hospitals. So once you get far enough south, they're not under Sarah Bush's map. So somewhere between here and there is a line of the other system and our system.
Richland County or something.
Right. So it's not necessarily going to be easy to pull a mutual aid out of thin air.
But I like the way you're thinking about it. It's like, well, how much do we need our own ambulance service if these other ones can cover for us?
Well, yeah, that and I think they need to be in your feedback. That needs to be one of the questions that they ask, you know, if you get my drift. They need to understand that this could possibly happen.
One thing you guys have not mentioned about if mutual aid is required to cover is your response times are going to go up drastically. that's something that hadn't been mentioned, so I wanted to make sure you were all aware that, because an ambulance response time in my area where we have Neoga, but we're not under Neoga's actual care, is 15 to 45 minutes, just depending on which day it is. So rather than having a 5-minute response time here from Toledo, you're going to go up to, if Neoga's responding, up to possibly 45 minutes, because you're the same distance as what I am. Greenup be a little bit quicker because they're closer.
Right. And if it came down to it, you know, they could centralize the ambulance service, say at Harrison's Curve, you know, I'm just using that example, then you're 5 minutes both ways.
Trouble with the Greenup though is I think they're volunteers, so they're not always sitting in there like Neoga.
And then there was one other thing, which is why was this even in here in the first place as a tax and county decision, is because in 1982 or 81, right in that range, the state of Illinois mandated that ambulance service be provided everywhere. And if there were no other provider already operating in an area, it fell to the county board to solve the problem.
To solve the problem.
Which is why
This is why
it's on their lap, and why in 1982 they created a special service area.
I think we're gonna have some pretty hostile people. That's just my opinion.
I know all these people, and that is not their normal disposition, when you're just
Right.
chit-chatting on the,
Oh,
So
absolutely.
beware.
and it was, bangs were out.
Well,
I didn't like it.
But obviously, they're not gonna intimidate us into taking their business.
No, no.
So,
I've coached basketball for 10 years, and it doesn't bother me now.
not gonna get jumped down, all right.
But I mean, we can't even give them what they want, because you can't raise that much.
I mean, it's just,
So,
we're gonna sick you on and get the numbers.
No, she's elected.
no, I'm elected. I don't want to say too much.
Right, right.
And you be careful, your name's front and
Yeah,
center.
we gotta protect her. Throw me to the dogs. I'll be all right. I don't taste very good, I'm sure. All right, so our number 5 thing was tell the board that we're gonna seek feedback from the prospects and seek approval for a new RFP on February 11th meeting. To be mailed out shortly thereafter, and to set the return date for that RFP to be, let's see what the date falls on.
What is the average price for an ambulance call in this
Depends.
region?
So there's three answers to that question, because
Let's just say basic,
okay,
basic non-emergency.
there's a billing amount, and then there's amount that is received by the ambulance provider. So I'm an ambulance provider, and I come and pick somebody up, and they are on Medicare.
Right.
I'm going to bill, in the case of Toledo Ambulance, they bill basically $500 plus mileage. Mileage is like $35 a mile or something. It's a number that's
It's $12 a
$12 a
mile.
mile. Okay, sorry, $12.
$12 billed to the 10th of a mile.
Okay, so if you go 30 miles, you've got $360 plus the $500. So you're billing $860, let's say, at a number. The reality is that they don't get that, because the insurance companies chop it down and give them what they say that they should have. So in the case of
And then the person is liable for the rest of it.
yes,
So yes, they do get that.
except if they're Medicare. So if they're Medicare, so we're talking seniors, with Medicare, if they come back and say, there's an $860 bill, you're getting paid $511, that's roughly close.
Uh-huh.
Medicare rules say you can't balance bill the difference. So that's it. What you get is $511, that's what you get. So the $300 or several $100 that don't get paid get written off as not even a collectible debt. But for private insurance, they can balance bill. So that's the difference, and of course, the way that works is, you know, your insurance company says, we've negotiated a great deal for you, we're only gonna pay the ambulance service $530, because that's a close
Yeah,
number.
that's a great deal for me, because I end up paying the rest of it. I get my
Of
bills,
course.
I know what my EOBs are.
Right, so the rest of it, and that's where, you know, an ambulance service can charge a big number. And so for the 10, 11, 12% of people who have private insurance, that's where the money gets made on balance billing the private insurance. So in our case, the billing for private ambulance, for an insurance, if they do pay $530, is gonna be a $300 bill, which is a reasonable price. There are, you know, horror stories out there of ambulance service and other providers who balance bill huge numbers. So
Well,
it's
that's, the basic non-emergency is $300. The basic emergency is $380. Advanced life support non-emergency is $350. Advanced life and support emergency is $500.
ALS 2, 650?
Yeah. So
So-
you have to be an advanced life support emergency for $500.
right.
Were you
When-
just throwing numbers out, or were those actually?
Well, through the FOIA, we asked for your average amount that you were paid. So essentially, for Medicare, the average amount that was paid was $511 a trip. So that means,
Well, to
you know.
me, if I was running a business and I was going in the hole, then the ones that are covered under private insurers, I'd be increasing my cost there, my fee.
right, and since they represent 10 or 11 or 12% of the total load, if you doubled it, you're only gonna have a smaller impact because they're not 90% of the revenue. They're 10 or 11 or 12% of the revenue. But they are a nonprofit, so I mean, in theory, they're a charity.
Right, I know,
Okay,
I get it.
I know, I'm just trying to figure out how that, I mean, they do have to break even though, to be in business next year.
Yeah, but they've been in the hole for how many years,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
Right.
If you're in the hole that many years, then where you can adjust your fees is where you need to be adjusting your fees, and they're not doing that.
That was something that came up in conversation at one point, and, you know, it would be nice if we could get more involved in their business so we could see if there were grants that we could apply for, or other funds, or other ways to charge things that they may not know that they can charge for, but
That's their problem.
it is really their problem.
Cause yeah. Last time I called an ambulance with my daughter, the bill was $750, and that was what I paid. Yeah,
Over her recognition.
yeah.
Well, call me, we'll throw her in the back of the truck next time, we'll get down the road.
So they did say at the public hearing that they are working to increase that the BLS and ALS, as you asked, was the inline license kind of, so it depends, the ambulance isn't licensed as a BLS or ALS, it's who shows up as the driver.
Right.
So the more times an ALS driver's there, they get paid more. Because they can bill more.
Okay, let's move
I
on.
wonder how they get paid on their billing. I know Greenup gets, billing person gets $20 a run. That's the way I understand
They get paid by the run,
it.
not
By
by,
the run.
They don't just,
And that's the
They
same.
charge them, they get $20 bill for the bill.
And that's the same for the people who show up to run with the ambulance, they get paid by the run, plus a
Right.
per hour standby fee
I
for
think it's
paging.
$2 or something, standby.
So the difference there is, they're not, they're a 1099 employee, or 1099 contractor, rather than a W-2 employee. So as a 1099 contractor, that person gets, if they're getting $40, $50 a run, I don't know what they get. If they're getting that number, they're getting that whole amount to them. At the end of the year, the taxes that are owed on that $50 has to come out of that $50 from the person who did the run. So everybody being on payroll is, it does cause, you have to pay $50. If you want to pay $50, you have to then pay on top of it FICA, Medicare, both sides, insurance.
I don't know how these guys do it.
But they used to have volunteers, and somehow Greenup has volunteers.
Well, Greenup's volunteers are the city employees that are on call,
Okay.
and then they get paid per run when they go. And that's
But what
how
about
they-
in the middle of the night?
Brownie will be driving usually. Yeah. Yeah.
Are they running out of volunteers?
I'm sorry?
Are they running out of volunteers?
Didn't we have like 20 volunteers at one point, like just a few years ago? For some reason, they went away. And the story is, and you know how valid stories are, they got pushed out so that they could raise the prices and pay people more. So they didn't want the volunteers.
That's the first thing the community needs to look at if they want an ambulance service, is people need to step forward and volunteer. Somebody needs to step forward.
Well,
Or the city itself, I mean, they got I don't know how many employees they got, but they could take and say, hey, you're gonna be a city employee, you need to take call 30 days out of 6 months, that's part of your employment.
that'd be great. It'd be pretty hard to coax them right
You
now, as fired up as they are.
Oh, I think this is really happy.
So we do need to move forward,
Yes.
and if you would like to explore talking to them to suggest a green up model, I mean, is that something you want to discuss?
Boy, I don't think you want to do that.
Yeah. Roy?
Unless you're a real good salesman. They'll take offense to it.
And
the county?
No, this
Toledo.
this
Toledo?
ambulance
Oh,
service,
tell them.
guarantee.
Mm-mm.
Be ridiculous, unrealistic to think that
Yep,
anything's gonna happen.
yep. You're telling them how to run their business.
I don't think it could work.
I don't think so either. I agree with everybody. So, but could you see it working if Green Up took it over?
Hypothetically. Possibly.
But now what,
But
say it,
that's,
see it working, you mean the village employees doing it or getting volunteers?
Both?
I don't understand it. Greenup and Toledo cannot work together. Possibly volunteers may volunteer to do something. If Greenup were here, I could see that. I don't think Greenup and Toledo, I don't think Toledo will work with Greenup, I'll put it that way. I don't think they will.
But I think if they need an ambulance service, I think that they'll wise up pretty quick.
I thought they would allow the A to be used
Well,
and like what,
that was political, you've seen the letters.
And it's gonna stop?
And I think it will, I mean, push comes to shove, I mean,
Over a period of time it may,
yeah.
certainly not right away. I understand that. But Laura, you don't even think over a period of time?
I wanna move out of Toledo, so I don't care after this. I'll be like Bergbauer, I'm moving.
You can come back to Jewett.
There you go.
I'll help you renovate a house, or two, or three.
You saying you've got some experience?
A little bit.
Okay,
See her wiping off the experience when she come in here tonight?
Well, I thought maybe she was just playing again.
Yeah, I had a white can of spray paint explode on me.
oof.
What else do we need here?
Well, anything else we want to say to the county board, based on what our experience has been up to this date and what we expect to do going forward? I'll run down the list again, what we have. Number 1 is don't take bid. Number 2 is leave levy as it is, no change. Number 3, simply pointing out that the existing ambulance service has not had an independent gap audit ever, and they have been having a bank audit, which,
By the same bank that they have, and,
yeah, a conflict of interest.
yeah.
And- But we're not recommending any changes necessarily on that at this time, nothing
That's
to go
just
back.
further information.
Yeah, but we thought that it was important to point it out. And then number 4 is, we recommend resubmitting the RFPs, lengthen the time frame for the respondents, and also more time for us to put it together and do the mailing, which leads us to number 5, which we're going to seek feedback and from our prospects, and use that information to submit a new RFP for the board's approval on February 11th.
And we're gonna give them some kind of a date that we're gonna finish this up.
And then set the return date on April 3rd, which would be Friday, the first Friday in April. And then that will give us time to,
Be done by May, end of May.
that will give us time to get in front of the county board.
When's the fiscal year for the county board?
December 1 to November 30th.
Okay.
So Friday, April 3rd would be when we want the RFPs to be returned. That'll give us an entire week to sort through them. And then our recommendation would be on the second Tuesday, which would be the 14th, for our next run at the RFPs.
When you mentioned the timeline,
Yes.
tell them that timeline's based upon the meeting with the lawyers and with the knowledge that they're under contract until August. The current ambulance is under contract until August.
Okay, I'll point that out.
Was there county board members at that?
Yeah, there's one.
Good.
Roy.
Oh, Roy, okay. That's good.
That you need to reference that meeting and highlight the bullet points of that meeting that you got out of it.
So are you guys gonna maybe draft something and pass an email around and then present a piece of paper?
Well, I've been making notes of what they're sending me in to tell them, more or less, right?
But, I mean, can't you just make a report and turn it in?
Absolutely. I mean, is that okay with you guys?
Yeah,
Sure.
write it up
We do
and pass it around.
And then I'll just be available if they have questions and issues.
Now, in a meeting like that, we could all attend that meeting and be
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
I have on there, I just put, discuss and take action on special service area 1, 2, and 3. Left it
Okay.
broad,
Yeah.
because we need to pass the budget and the levy. If you guys say that that's what you want to keep, everything the same, so I've left it broad, those two things need to be done. So,
And in the current RFP, it says that they would have a chance to make a presentation to the county board. You might want to look at including that.
yeah, and I noticed that it says something about 6 o'clock, our board meeting starts at 7.
Right, but
That
if
was-
they,
This meeting was 6.
Okay.
right, but if they were going to have several presentations, so,
You mean from Toledo Ambulance, sir, or?
yes,
Well-
to answer questions on their bid.
But wait a minute, we're not accepting it, so I
Yeah,
don't
we're
think
not
that we have
accepting the bid.
to. If we were going to accept the bid, then,
But you're just recommending that the county board accepts or doesn't accept.
yeah, we're recommending, that's correct.
So if you,
They
Anyway.
can step in the top at the same time they want.
Yeah,
I mean, if they want.
that's true, they can come to the
Did
board
you say
meeting
it's Tuesday?
Yeah,
second Tuesday of the
I
month.
can
I don't think they will.
email them a copy of this bid, if they all look at their emails, but I'll have a copy at the table that night.
Probably all
Yeah, that'd be good to do that, just email that copy, and then, but we'll put together something a little more cleaned up then, which would be our talking points of what we want to, recommend, which is all we're doing. So, were there any other things? What was the last thing that you wanted me to point out to that? I may not have captured that.
She was saying the meeting
Yeah,
that you
to
were at.
make sure you reference that the meeting with the lawyer, and that this timeline is based on the knowledge you received from that meeting, and that the Toledo Ambulance Company is under contract until August.
Okay, I see what you're saying. All right. We have to August 30th.
Well, it's too bad this town don't have a nursing home machine.
It was lifestyle, isn't that kind of something? Those houses over by the left side?
Old folks living there.
Yeah.
Cause that's where the money's at,
Yeah.
them kind of rooms.
Okay. I understand what you're saying now about that. We need to catch up. All right, any
Yeah,
other?
because they might be thinking, well, why were they in such a hurry, and now they've got a timeline that goes till late April,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's because we had,
Roy and Brian would know because of the meeting, but the rest of the group
Right.
might not necessarily know, so that's a
Right.
very good point.
so you need to recap what you learned in that meeting, because not all of them were there.
Yeah, they won't understand.
You have to put it in context for them.
Yeah, exactly, you're right, yeah. That's a good way to put it.
You know, I like this a lot better, cause I didn't like the way the first one was coming down so fast. That was
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I know,
too fast.
we had reasons and we've got to
No,
react,
yeah.
you know, sometimes.
Don't know what you do.
But I like the results. We did get one bid, and we got it from Toledo Ambulance, and so now,
I'm
Communicating.
like you, Lori, you know, somebody who's bidding on services and stuff, you would think that they would be more pleasant to the committee who's evaluating their bid. But I'm always shocked at people who submit proposals and bids to a public institution. The amount of vendors that I've talked to that acted like I owed them business. It's like, really? Seriously?
Well,
I'm still going.
you have to understand, nobody likes to be told that they've done something wrong or mismanaged
Right
or,
there, that's perfect.
you know, nobody likes to be told that. And basically, that's what they're being told.
I really thought they would have come with a more realistic number.
Right,
I-
exactly.
to know that the county could at least afford.
Right, because they've been put in, how many, you know, a couple of times, they've had different numbers thrown out from the paperwork we had.
But their original request back in, whatever, to, like this, earlier this year, to request a price increase, they requested to go to 30 cents for everybody.
33.
I thought it was just straight 30.
Yeah, just 30.
Was it
30
straight
for
30?
each area.
30 for,
For
all of
three
them.
areas,
so that was the ask. And at the first,
yeah. Even
30
Ron
was,
voted against that.
was no. And
That's
so
hard to
then
believe.
then the second question came back, well then double the SSA 3 to make it up to where everybody else is, so that it's, you know, equal, but that didn't account for the traffic and the load. So it's, you know, it's perspective, but that was the first ask, was for 30 cents. So they, I mean, you know, it's a conundrum because this is the money that's available and the cost of doing it is apparently a different number.
Yeah, according to them.
I understand.
This is the money that is available to supplement their income.
Yeah.
You know, that we're supplementing
Their business.
their business. They want to run their business, I mean, they need to adjust their prices and their services and stuff like that to run a business. Whether or not it's not for profit or not is irrelevant right now. When you're running in the hole, that's irrelevant. Are we done? I'm sorry, I'm that way in meetings.
It's good. It's good.
Okay.
This is all good feedback. This is all good. I don't wanna rush out of here, but I know everybody wants to go and we're 2 hours into it already, so is there anything else anybody can think of or wants maybe cover at the board meeting on Tuesday? All right, we'll clean this up. I'll send an email out so that you can review it, and if you think of anything else between now and then, we'll have that. And
What clear and what would happen, I don't like that. I know that.
all right, now
How it works.
when should we get together again and start our forward march to feedback? To gather feedback. You wanna make a Christmas party and bring booze and stuff? That camera's off, right?
Jewett was buying turkeys for their people, so,
Any truth to that?
Yeah, that's completely true.
what was it, turkeys or hams? I don't
It
remember.
was hams.
It was hams,
It was
yeah.
hams.
So you got a hand?
No,
No, just the clerk and the treasurer, right?
clerk, treasurer, and the maintenance guy, and the maintenance guy's the only one that could get the ham.
Correct. And the clerk and the treasurer's mother-daughter
Yeah, like they need two.
that live in the same house.
So you mixed that, the turkey, the ham program is on?
I didn't know it wasn't supposed to happen, so I voted for it, but he brought it up afterwards, and I'm like,
Uh-oh.
shit.
All right, date, do we want to get together in December to start this, this plan? Let's see, we want to get the new RFPs prepared by February 11th. So if we don't reconvene until January, like Friday, January 3rd, and then we'll spend the next 4 weeks of January getting feedback.
Is there a reason that we always meet on Fridays?
No. It just kind of happened that way. I think it was to be ready
That was so we could have it for the board meeting.
before the board meeting. Yeah, I like that.
It's the only day of the week that I actually don't have normal meetings.
Well, you know, that's what we need to shoot for.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So are you implying that you have a life and Fridays?
I might get a life between now and January, I don't know.
Does anybody else have a preference for the day of the week or the date particularly?
I just prefer not Mondays.
And not the first Wednesday. The first Wednesday of the month is June.
Oh, okay.
Except for this month.
That's January 1st.
That's when they
Except for this
distribute the
month.
hams and turkeys.
Okay, so is Friday the 3rd okay?
I guess.
No life before then.
No life before January 3rd.
Oh, man.
How about you, Lori, is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
What time?
Okay.
You,
Same time, 6? PM, okay, everybody?
Yeah.
Friday the 3rd. And our agenda for that meeting will consist of creating a feedback plan and a list of prospects to contact. Maybe some questions that we may want to ask. And then we will plan to have a new RFP ready for the February 11th board meeting. So that should actually give us plenty of time compared to what we're accustomed to. All right, Bev, you got all this? All right.
Dad wants to slap us around. I don't blame you, hon.
Nothing's easy.
I'd like to have it solved.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
you will be.
Okay, anything else?
Sometime.
It'll be solved.
All right, I guess we can adjourn this.